Hello, my name is Mary. I'm an independent Avon sales representative. And for those of you who've been watching my channel and watching my videos, I'm sure you're well aware of the fact that I love vintage Avon. I love vintage things in general. And I had an idea, something that I've been wanting to do for a while. I had this idea that I wanted to do some videos about cooking and baking. You know, I have tons of recipe books, and I have some old recipe books like from the 1940s, the 1950s, 1960s, and I thought about making some videos in which I cook or make some of these recipes from these old books. So today I'm going to share a recipe with you guys. It's not that old. It's just about, from a book that's about 20 years old. It's actually a Weight Watchers recipe. But the holidays are coming up, Thanksgiving is coming up, Christmas is coming up, and I have this Weight Watchers recipe for bread pudding using cinnamon raisin bread. And it's just so good and so simple. I thought I would do a video in which I make this for you guys really quick, and I just wanted to share this recipe with you, and hopefully some of you will try it and enjoy it. Okay, so today I'm going to show you how to make a Weight Watchers recipe for cinnamon raisin bread pudding. This is a low-fat cinnamon raisin bread pudding, and I have all the ingredients here. As you can see, it's just there's very few ingredients. You need milk, vanilla extract, raisin bread, and eggs. And I've already cracked my eggs open and beaten them. So let me tell you quickly what these other ingredients are. You need 4 large eggs, okay, which I've cracked open. You need 2 cups of fat-free milk. In this case, I'm going to use 2% milk because that's what I have on hand. And you won't notice a difference probably. And then I have 16 slices of cinnamon, I use Pepperidge Farm cinnamon raisin swirl bread. So I think there's 16 slices in a pack, so it's a whole pack of bread. And 1/2 cup of sugar and vanilla extract. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to combine the eggs and the milk, in the same bowl. And the sugar as well. Now, this is just me personally. I think that this is a little too sweet, just kind of like borderline a little too sweet. So I like to actually subtract about 1 tablespoon of sugar. I'm not doing a really good job right now because I'm using one hand to hold the phone. So I'm going to put this to the side, and that's enough. And I'm going to add this to the mixture. And in just a minute, we're going to stir that up, and then we're going to add it to the bread. So I'm just going to stir this up. You want to stir the sugar around. The eggs are already beaten, so I'm not going to use a whisk. Stir that up. And you're supposed to let the bread soak for about, 5 minutes. So let's see if I can do this without making a mess, using only one hand. Okay. So you want to pour this over the bread that you have cut up. It's hard to scrape that out when you only have one free hand. Okay, let me set this to the side. Make sure I have enough ingredients here yet. So I just stir this around. You want to get all of the bread wet. Yes, the bread is going to get soggy. That's bread pudding for you. It does get soggy. That's what you want. Okay, sorry. Trying to keep the camera focused on what I'm doing. Okay. This is just so simple. Oh, you know what? I forgot to add the vanilla extract, but that's no problem. I'll do that right now. So we need 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. So when I come back, I'm going to add 1 teaspoon. So I have 1 teaspoon. You know, ideally you want to add that first, but I just forgot. I apologize for that. And you want to stir it up, get all the bread wet as possible. Make sure that, you know, everything is combined. So I got to stir it a little bit more, but you know, the bread does get really wet and mushy, so it's easy to do. Okay, so hopefully that is enough stirring. Okay, so I'm going to let this stand for about 5 minutes, as the recipe says, and then I will be right back, and we're going to pour it into a pan. Now, the original recipe was for only 4 servings, but in my family, that's not quite enough. So I double the recipe to make 8 servings, and that's what I've done here. And so in the original recipe, you would use like an 8x8 pan, but I'm going to use one that's slightly larger, like you can use a 13x9. In this case, I'm going to use, I think it's 11x7. I know it's a rectangular pan. I think it's the next size down from the 13x9. So I think it's 11x7, I'm not sure. So I'm going to apply cooking spray to the pan, and then I'm going to put it into my already preheated oven. I preheated it to 350 degrees, and you're going to bake it for about, now everyone's oven is different. So the recipe says 25 to 30 minutes, but you have to be the judge. You know, whenever something begins to smell done, that's when you need to pay attention and check on it. Okay, you know, if your recipe comes out too dry or if it's burned, please don't blame me. You know, like I said, everyone's oven is different, so sometimes you learn things by trial and error. My oven gets too hot quickly, and it tends to cook things a little bit faster. I don't know why. So I have to adjust my temperature a little bit lower than what the recipe usually calls for. I am back. I left the bread sitting for probably a little bit longer than 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. I was trying to multitask. Okay, so it is ready for baking, and I'm going to pour it into this rectangular baking dish. I think this is 11x7. So there is one more step after this. Let me use this spoon to smooth things out. Okay. Sorry, this is the best that I have right now. You want to just kind of smooth it out, flatten it out, get it evenly distributed around the pan. Okay. Now what you're going to do next is you're going to sprinkle some sugar on the top. So when I come back, I'm going to do that, and then it's going to be ready for baking. All right, so I have some sugar here, and I'm going to sprinkle 2 tablespoons on the top. And you know, in the past I have forgotten to do this occasionally, and it still came out fine. So it's up to you whether you want to do this or not. It just adds a little something extra, you know, makes it a little bit sweeter. I know I said that I was going to take out 1 tablespoon earlier, which I did, but to me, with all this sugar, it's just a little bit too sweet. But you don't want to take out too much sugar, then it's not going to be sweet enough. So I think if you subtract just 1 tablespoon, that should be fine. But if you like really sweet things, you know, then I would keep it. I wouldn't take it out. You know, you can experiment and see what you like the best. So I'm using actually a ½ tablespoon here. So if it seems like I'm using more than what I should, that's the reason why. It's not a tablespoon, it's a ½ tablespoon. And actually, I think all I need is about 3. So that's 1 1/2. I think that is enough sugar. Okay, so I'm going to bake it now at 350 degrees. The recipe says for about, I think 25 to 30 minutes. So my oven tends to get hot and cook things pretty quickly. So I'm going to try it at 25 first, setting the timer for about 25 degrees, and I'm going to see how it works out. If I needed to leave it in there a little bit longer, I will, and if it starts to smell done before the 25 minutes is up, then I'm going to pull it out and check on it and see if it's done, because, you know, I don't want it to overcook. You know, I don't want it to get burned, and I don't want it to get dried out. Okay? And here you see the end result. This is the final product. Sorry, but I've already taken a bite out of this. This is just so good. And if you're concerned about consuming too many calories around the holidays, you know, this might be a good option to make as a dessert for not just yourself, but your family, your guests. It's very simple, very easy, very few ingredients, and it really is delicious. Believe me when I say that this dessert doesn't last too long in my house. So good.